All right, today we are jumping headfirst into a really fascinating and honestly pretty provocative political idea. It's a concept from a source we've been analyzing, and it's called the populist bomb. Let's get right into it.
So first things first, what in the world is a populist bomb? I mean, the name itself sounds pretty intense, right? And according to the theory we're going to unpack, it's absolutely designed to have a massive political effect. We're going to break down what the source claims it is, how it's supposedly put together, and who it's designed to hit.
Now, a really important heads up before we dive any deeper. Our whole job here is to walk you through the ideas presented in our source material. Think of us as your guide. We're not endorsing this theory. We are simply explaining how this one document lays out its ideas on political manipulation.
Okay, so to really get our heads around the bomb, the source argues we first need to understand who it's aimed at. And that brings us to a really foundational idea here, what the document calls a theory of victimhood. This is supposedly the bedrock for the entire strategy.
Our source introduces this very specific phrase, the victims of the Democratic playing card deck. It's a mouthful, I know, but it uses this term to describe what it sees as a super important voting bloc, a group of people defined by the feeling that they've been wronged or left behind. And this is where we get to the heart of the dynamic. This source lays out a really powerful us versus them narrative. So on one side, you have this group that feels disadvantaged, and on the other, you have their opponents. The document specifically points to Republicans and conservatives who are painted as the enemy, as people actively trying to keep them down.
So, if that feeling of victimhood is the fuel, how do you light the match? Well, the source claims it's done through something it calls the playing card strategy. This is a specific tactic used to get people fired up, so let's break it down.
What exactly is playing the card? According to this document, it's a strategy that takes identity, things like race, age, gender, or social class, and uses it to push emotional buttons. The goal, as the source describes it, isn't to have some rational debate. No, it's to trigger a strong, gut-level reaction and lock in support from people who already feel like they're getting a raw deal.
And the document gets very, very specific here. It lays out how this fear-based messaging is supposedly targeted. It claims that certain stories are crafted for certain groups. For example, telling African Americans that Republicans are holding them down. Telling the middle class that their financial security is at risk. Convincing women that their rights are constantly under attack, and, scaring senior citizens by saying their Social Security is on the chopping block.
Now, to make all this messaging really land, the document points to 4 powerful verbs. The first one is simple, against. It frames the opposition as being fundamentally, completely against the interests of these groups.
Then you have holding down. This word is key because it suggests active oppression. It paints this picture that someone is deliberately stopping you from getting ahead. Next up is hurting. This one makes it personal. It implies that political policies aren't just abstract ideas. They're causing real, actual pain and suffering to you and people like you.
And finally, the big one, destroying. The document presents this as the knockout punch. It turns a political disagreement into a fight for survival, creating what the source itself calls fear and loathing for the opposition. Okay, so all of this brings us to the main event. We have the target group, we have the playing card strategy, and now the source introduces the populist bomb itself, a tactic it says is designed to make that group of aggrieved people even bigger. So here's the bottom line. The source defines a populist bomb as a message that's perfectly engineered to tell people exactly what they want to hear. It's a 1-2 punch that plays on their hopes for a better future and their fears of losing what they have right now.
The language is not subtle. The source actually uses this direct quote to describe the tactic, saying it involves attacking Republicans for purportedly screwing over certain groups. The argument in the document is that it doesn't even matter if the claims are true. They work because they plug right into that sense of grievance we talked about earlier.
The document breaks the populist bomb down into a pretty straightforward 4-step recipe. Step 1. Tell people things they want to believe. Step 2. Tap into those existing feelings about race and class. Step 3. Go on the attack, hard. And step 4. This is the really critical one. Make promises that sound amazing, but are, according to the source, totally unsubstantiated.
And this is a perfect example from the text of that 4th step in action. The incredible promise: universal health care for everybody.
The supposed catch? That you can do it without raising taxes. The source argues that this might not hold up if you look at the numbers, but a lot of people just hear the two good things and accept them. That, the document says, is the bomb going off.
So, what's the end game here? Why go through all this trouble? According to the source, the whole strategy has a dual purpose, and it's really important to understand both parts.
As the source lays it out, these two goals are meant to work together. The one you see on the surface is all about projecting an image of caring, of being a champion for the little guy. But the text argues that this is just a mask for the real goal, which is way more cynical. It's all about winning elections. And this right here is the absolute core argument of the entire document. It claims that the ultimate goal of the populist bomb isn't to actually fix problems or deliver on promises. The real prize, according to this theory, is just to shape how people think and feel, enough to get their votes.
Which leaves us with a huge final question, one that goes way beyond this single document. Whether you buy into this theory or not, it forces you to ask, in this incredibly noisy political world, how can any of us really tell the difference between someone who genuinely wants to help and someone who's just running a calculated play for power? That's definitely something to chew on. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.